Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Stampin' with Theresa. I'm Theresa Conway-Hayes in Meridian, Idaho, and you can find me as the Stampin' Bookkeeper either on Facebook or the web. There's my web address. And today's episode is going to be using the rubber band technique. And we're going to use the Positive Thoughts Cling Stamp Set for that. I have a Rococo Rose Card base. And we're going to use 2 inks. We're going to use the black StazonOn and the Highland Heather. We're also going to be using the black embossing powder and a Versamark stamp pad. And then we will need a sponging brayer. So let's get started. First, I want to show you the card that I just did. Up here on the shelf. This one I used So Saffron, and I've got the camera a little close to my work area because there was a glare and I had it up higher. And so I used So Saffron card base. I used Cajun Craze ink with the black emboss. And then I used a relatively new product. See, there's that glare. StazonOn Saddle Brown. I haven't used this much, and I thought it would look nice with the So Saffron. This is a nice card that could be used for masculine. And so it says hugs, prayers, and love on the outside, and then it says sending positive thoughts and feel good wishes on the inside. It's a very basic card. Now, I realize that I'm using embossing and that makes it a little bit more of a step up, but still, because I'm only using one piece of cardstock and I'm only using 1 ink, 2 inks. The thing is if you don't have embossing powder, and the Versamark and a heat gun, then you could always excuse me, you could always just stamp this with regular ink. All right, so I did spritz this card with water to try and get the water dots on there, and I did accomplish that a little bit, but it also made my card a little crooked because I'm not using another layer. So I've got it under a block up here on a shelf to try and flatten it out. I'm not going to use the water on this one. So, okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to mask off this card. Now I've got my rubber band, and I want to use the embossing buddy a little bit first. Let's see if I can get a little bit more of my project on the screen. All right, so now we need the Versamark. So I said 2 inks, but we need 3 inks. because we need the Versamark. And I just put these rubber bands on a long acrylic block, and unfortunately I only had one size of rubber bands. So next time I go to the store, I want to buy one of these packages, but I want a package that has 3 or 4 different sizes of rubber bands, because that would give this more interest. And I might need a more juicy Versamark pad. This time I'm going to stamp it a lot. Okay, we'll give that a go. I like that one. I think it's darker. A more pronounced image. Now I need a paintbrush. All right, that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and clean up this embossing powder mess. So usually I just take a piece of copy paper and fold it in half, and then I can pour it back into the cup. I don't use a lot of big containers for my embossing powder because I don't have the room for it. But for my white embossing powder, I do use a little bit bigger of a container. And I had to put white embossing powder on my shopping list for this last order because I use it so much. I did watch a card hack here recently, and it said to use a clothespin to hold your embossing project when you're embossing so you don't burn your fingers. But My tweezers work pretty good for me. Alrighty, I think that was everything. I always have to resist touching that before I give it a minute to cool down. It will burn your fingers. But I'm looking at it in the light, and if you hold your project to the light, it will usually give you a good indication as to whether everything turned or not. And yes, it has. All right, so now I am going to go back to masking this. Then I'll take my Highland Heather ink and I will ink up my brayer. I always push down, lift, push down, lift. Oops, darn it. Not a lot of Highland Heathers coming down. I think this pad needs re-inked. I guess it is a year old. And of course the Rococo Rose is a pretty dark color. I think we're going to call that good. Didn't want it to be real dark. All right, so that part is done. Now we're going to do some stamping. First thing I'm going to stamp is the hugs, prayers, and love. Oh, and I did find this technique. I was watching Tina's Zink last night, and this was one of her older videos to do this. And this time I'm going to use the butterfly instead of the feather. And I'm going to use, let's see, the fern. Because of what I'm doing, it probably would have been better to use my Stamparatus for this, but we're going to wing it. Not real dark, but it'll work. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp the butterfly here. Like it's sitting on the fern. And then I'm going to take a piece of white cardstock. I think this is actually vanilla. And I'm going to go ahead and color this. Probably going to use a retired color. And this is Pink Purette. Let's see what else do I have. Flirty Flamingo. Okay, we'll use Flirty Flamingo. And I'm off screen. And I do have the die for this, but I'm not going to take the time to find it. So I'm going to fussy cut this. And I'm not going to worry about the antenna or the body. I'm going to take a glue dot. Making sure that none of the glue dot is hanging out. I'm going to trim this a little bit. There's too much vanilla showing. Okay, now one more thing for the front. For this one, I am going to take the, oh, I just went blank. Wink of Stella. And I'm going to try and put some sparkly on this. I'm also gonna color my butterfly with Wink of Stella. And then one last thing. What did I do with that? Oh, there it is. Get this block cleaned off. With the simple chamois. Now I like more than that of my rubber stamp to be clean. So I will use the StazonOn cleaner. And the way I do it is I put the StazonOn cleaner on and then I rub it off onto paper. Then I use a wet cloth to get the cleaner off of the stamp. And the simple chamois is great for this because I can get into all those little cracks and crevices better than anything else. Unless I were using like a wet rag. More black up here than I like. Okay, I don't want to spend all day cleaning my stamp. So we've got the outside done for this card. And we were just cleaning this stamp off so I could remove it and put this greeting on here. Oh, I was like, I don't see any ink going on there. That's because the cover was on there. StazonOn ink has a plastic cover over it. I think that's to help keep it fresh. Sending positive thoughts and feel good wishes. All right, so that one is done. And it does stand a little bit better than the other one that I spritz with water. I used my, where is it? I used my spritzer. This one has champagne in it, but I used the one that I have just water and spritz it, and I got it too wet. So that's what I have for you today. Thanks for taking time to stamp with me, and I will see you again next time. If you have any questions, please be sure to post them on Facebook. I will be uploading this to my YouTube channel. If you visit my YouTube channel, please, please, please subscribe. I am trying to get to the 100 mark so that I can get a customized URL. And one other thing is, we do have bonus days going on right now. And so what that means is that if you make any purchases in June up until, I think it's August 3rd, I wouldn't go much past June 30th though, without reading the directions, and I should have them in front of me, but I don't. So I was just noticing how the shadow was appearing on this, and it kind of distracted me because it would look really pretty like that. It really lightened up the whole Rococo Rose. Sorry, rabbit or squirrel. Anyways, bonus days, purchase in July, and you get a $5 certificate for every $50 spent. And so then you get to use your certificates to get free product in August. So far I think I'm up to $25 that I'll be able to spend on the pre-order in August because I'm a demonstrator. I can purchase the stuff from the next catalog. And if you want to join as a demonstrator, you would be able to do the same thing. Do not let the idea of joining be a scary thing. Yes, there is a quarterly, but if you don't meet the quarterly, the time that you do meet the quarterly, you get 20% savings off of your product, or is it 15? Again, I should have this stuff in front of me. But you get the discount off of the product, and if you don't meet your quarterly, you drop out as a demonstrator. Guess what? You can later rejoin. I believe you can rejoin in 30 days, or if you're not trading demonstrators, I believe you can join again right away. But we got to the point we could look into that and make sure that we're doing it right. So thank you again for taking time to visit with me, and I will see you again next time. Goodbye.